Have you ever looked deep into your partner's eyes, the same person who once whispered words of love to you, who once vowed to stay by your side until the end of time, and then, one day, saw something in those eyes that left you confused? A sudden coldness that passed too quickly to catch, but just long enough to plant a seed of doubt. And you asked yourself, am I overthinking this, or is something truly wrong? If you've ever asked that question, then this video is for you. Today we're uncovering one of the most painful mysteries in relationships with narcissists. Why do they cheat? How do they hide it so well? And, most importantly, how can you see through the performance? This isn't just someone else's story. It's the story of millions. People who loved a narcissist, who placed their hearts in the hands of someone they trusted, only to be left with invisible pieces no one else can see. And if you're here, listening to me now, I want you to know one thing. You are not alone. I see you. I understand the sleepless nights, lying there, trying to piece together fragments of stories that never quite add up. I know what it feels like when your heart tells you one thing, but your mind is drowning in sweet words, denial, and even blame. You begin to doubt yourself instead of doubting the one who was supposed to love and protect you. And that right there, that's the most brutal power of the narcissist. It's not just that they betray you, it's that they make you betray yourself. They twist truth, distort emotions, and leave you lost in a fog where nothing is clear anymore, where right and wrong, real and fake all blur together. But today we're going to shine a light through that fog. We'll uncover the deeper psychological mechanisms narcissists use to conceal their betrayal. We'll understand how they manipulate your emotions and your sense of reality. And most importantly, I'll give you tools to start seeing the truth, to reclaim your light and clarity. So stay with me until the end of this video, because I truly believe that understanding is the first step toward freedom. And that freedom doesn't just mean leaving a toxic relationship, it means freedom in your mind, in your heart, where you never again have to question your own worth. And to begin this journey, let me ask you something. Have you ever felt deep down that something was off, only to be convinced that you were the problem? If the answer is yes, then know this. You've come to the right place, where the truth will be revealed and your freedom is waiting. There's a bitter truth that not everyone is brave enough to face. A narcissist doesn't betray you because you weren't good enough, pretty enough, or loving enough. They betray you because deep inside, there's a bottomless void within them, a personality defect that no amount of genuine love can ever fill. You could give them everything, loyalty, sacrifice, patience, and trust, but to them it's all temporary. Just a quick fix, an emotional supply to be used until boredom sets in. Then, quietly, they seek out something new, like an addict chasing the next hit, completely indifferent to the wreckage left behind. When you love, you give with your whole heart, but when they receive, they measure with cold selfishness. They don't value it. They don't appreciate it. They crave power, admiration, the feeling of being the center of someone else's universe. And when that feeling fades, when you grow tired, start asking questions, or simply stop submitting the way you used to, they don't work things out. They don't ask. They don't communicate. They withdraw. They go silent. They become indifferent. And then they step into another world with someone new, someone more naive, more eager, more easily controlled. This isn't a random choice. It's how their system operates. Perhaps the most painful part isn't even the betrayal itself, but how they do it. Without a shred of remorse. They can see your pain, hear the tremble in your voice, watch you collapse under the weight of shattered trust, and still their eyes stay empty. Why? Because they lack emotional empathy. They don't feel your pain. They may know they caused it, but it doesn't register inside. Their heart has long been frozen. They don't love. They manipulate. They don't listen. They counterattack. And because they feel nothing, they can continue betraying you with a chilling calmness, like it's second nature. And if you confront them, they won't apologize. They won't repent. They won't say, "I was wrong." Instead, they'll blame you. It's a flawless defense mechanism protecting their distorted ego. You stopped caring. You're too controlling. You always doubt me. You hear these things and begin to wonder, am I the problem? You start apologizing for their mistakes, taking on guilt that isn't yours, and that's when you fall into the deepest trap, questioning yourself, changing yourself for something you didn't cause. They betrayed you, but you're the one carrying the guilt. Yet behind all of that, there's an even harsher truth you need to know. In their eyes, you are not a person. You're not a soul to love, a partner to journey with. You're a role, a supporting character in the show they direct. You are emotional supply, a tool they use to feel powerful, a mirror reflecting their grand illusion. They don't love you. They love the feeling you give them, and when that feeling fades, you cease to exist. That's why when they cheat, they feel no guilt. Not because it was an accident, but because you don't exist in their reality in that moment. You've been erased. They live as if running two separate lives, one with you, where they pretend to love and be kind, and another in the shadows, where they betray without thought or consequence. And when you ask questions, they'll deny, deflect, even lash out. And you, because you still love them, will back down. And that's exactly where they want you, lost in the fog, silent, doubting yourself. So don't ask why they betrayed you. Ask why you're still blaming yourself when they are the ones who engineered this cruel game to keep you in the dark. And if you're still feeling confused, stay with me, because in the next part, I'll show you exactly how they hide what no one else sees, and how you can finally see it all. There's a reason why you haven't been able to see the truth clearly, even though your heart has been whispering warnings for a long time. It's not because you're naive. It's not because you're weak. It's because you're dealing with a master manipulator, someone who has spent their entire life perfecting the art of distortion, of blurring the line between right and wrong and turning you into a character in a play they're directing from the shadows. A narcissist's betrayal isn't random. It's protected by a system of highly calculated tactics, built with words, behaviors, and psychological twists so cunning that when you finally question them, you end up feeling like the one at fault. So let's begin peeling back the layers so you can see why they've been able to betray you without hiding, because they turn you into the veil that covers the truth. The first and most dangerous tactic, gaslighting, the manipulation of your perception. It's more than just lying. It's an invasion of your mind, causing you to doubt your memories, your instincts, even your emotions. When you ask a question, they smile and say, "You're being too sensitive." When you point out inconsistencies, their face hardens. You're imagining things again. And when you're hurt, they grow angry. "Why do you always think the worst of me?" Over time, the repetition wears you down. You start believing the problem is you. You feel guilty for asking questions. You apologize for overthinking. You fall silent to avoid conflict. And when you go quiet, they win. They keep hiding everything in plain sight because they've made you doubt yourself. Next comes triangulation. They bring a third party into the dynamic, not necessarily a lover. It could be a co-worker, an old friend, even a family member. They don't say it outright, but they plant the idea that this other person is somehow more special than you. "She just gets me in a way you don't. With her, I feel heard. You're just being jealous again." And suddenly, you're in a race you didn't sign up for. You try harder, love more, sacrifice more, just to hold on to someone who is already slipping away. Triangulation isn't just about jealousy. It's a way for them to juggle multiple relationships without any of the parties daring to set boundaries. You're constantly made to feel like you need to do more, while the other person only needs to exist to be favored. But the most insidious tactic is compartmentalization. The narcissist divides their life into sealed boxes, and no box touches another. In one, they're the perfect partner, taking the kids to school, wishing you good night, hugging you every morning. But in another, they're exchanging steamy messages, sneaking around, keeping secrets you'll never be invited into. And the terrifying part is, when they're inside one box, The others don't exist to them. They can hold you tonight and message their affair partner right after and feel no conflict. Their mind is built to lock away each compartment cleanly and coldly. And you, living in the peaceful box they show you, would never suspect that betrayal is unfolding just beyond a thin door. Finally, there's projection, distorted reflection. They cheat but accuse you of infidelity. They lie but claim you are the dishonest one. They manipulate but label you as controlling. This tactic isn't just to deflect blame. It's to erode your trust in yourself. You start wondering if you really are the problem. And while you're consumed with proving your innocence, you no longer have the energy to investigate them. That's how they shift your focus from the real issue. Every one of these tactics is designed for a single goal, to keep you in the dark for as long as possible. Because when you're confused, when you're silent, when you doubt yourself, they don't have to hide anymore. They can live their double life right in front of you, and you won't even know. And if you start digging for the truth, they'll hit you with everything they have: anger, victimhood, evasion, blame, until eventually you give up, not because you found peace, but because you're exhausted. But you weren't born to live in that fog forever. And the truth? It's still there, waiting for you to be ready. In the next part, I'll show you the tangible signs of betrayal, signs that exist even when they try to bury them deep. Because light doesn't vanish, it just gets covered. And it's time you learned how to see through the darkness. There's an irony that's hard to accept. The narcissist betrayal isn't hidden out of sight. It's right in front of you. You just weren't allowed to see it. Not because they're great at hiding it, but because they're even better at making you want to believe that nothing's wrong. And because you love, because you trust, because you want your family whole, because you want the relationship to be worth fighting for, you choose to believe in what you hope instead of what you feel. But if you've stayed with me this far, maybe your heart is starting to reclaim its right to see clearly. And I want to hand you the light to do just that. The first and most common sign is subtle but consistent changes in their daily behavior. Narcissists know that sudden shifts will raise suspicion, so they don't vanish overnight. They slide out of your reality slowly. Texts take longer to reply, phone calls come later, there are urgent meetings, unexpected work trips, or moments where they're physically present but mentally a million miles away. These shifts are so small you tell yourself, I'm probably just imagining things, and that's exactly what they want. Next is the irrational defensiveness. When you ask a perfectly normal question, where were you last night? Or why does your phone have a new passcode? Instead of answering, they get angry, attack, and flip it on you. You're invading my privacy. A simple question turns into a war. Because they know the easiest way to hide the truth is to make you afraid of ever asking again. Another sign, one many are afraid to admit, intimacy becomes lifeless or strangely over the top. Some narcissists pull away completely, turning physical closeness into a hollow routine. Others go the opposite direction, becoming unusually passionate, playing the role of the perfect partner to bury their guilt. But in either case, you can feel it. Something in their eyes has died, something they'll never admit. There's also a more subtle but incredibly telling sign. They talk a lot about loyalty, trust, and betrayal, but in a suspiciously self-righteous way. They preach forgiveness, humility, and unwavering trust. But they're not doing it to protect love. They're weaponizing morality to make you feel guilty for even having doubts. And when you feel guilty for questioning them, you back off. And when you back off, the truth slips deeper out of reach. But perhaps the clearest sign isn't found in them, it's found in you. Be honest. Are you living in a constant state of vague anxiety? Do you feel like you're walking on eggshells, careful with every word, every action? Have you ever woken up in the middle of the night with a heavy heart and a gut instinct screaming, something isn't right? If so, trust that voice. Intuition is the truth without the evidence, and with a narcissist you'll never get the kind of evidence that catches them red-handed. Because they're masters of cover-ups, and even more skilled at making you doubt yourself so much, you stop looking altogether. They know you love, they know you want to believe, they know your values are loyalty, honesty, and integrity, and they use those very values to keep control. They don't just lie to hide betrayal. They make you the gatekeeper of the lie. So if you're still waiting for a clear sign, a definite confirmation, that perfect moment to catch them, let me tell you this: stop waiting. The truth doesn't need a spotlight when your heart already knows it. And if you're feeling insecurity, loss, and confusion in your own relationship, that is the truth knocking. Open the door to it, no matter how painful, because that's the only beginning to true healing. In the next part, I'll take you deeper into the light, not just how to recognize the truth, but how to rise from it, with the strength, dignity, and peace that no one, not even a narcissist, can ever take from you. You've been in the dark for far too long, and the first thing I want to tell you is this: you are not blind, you are not stupid, you are not weak. You are human. A human being who knows how to love, to trust, and to hope. And that doesn't make you wrong. It makes you someone with a heart that still feels. But now, as you begin to hear the quiet whisper of truth inside your heart, it's time to look directly into that light and step out of the darkness. So how do you see through the fog they've built around you? How do you know what's real without catching them in the act, without a confession? The secret lies within you, in the place they can never control. Step 1. Trust your intuition. I know you've probably heard this 1,000 times, and every time you've wondered, but what if my intuition is wrong? It's not. Intuition isn't impulsive emotion. It's the voice of experience, of data your heart and brain have silently gathered over time. It's the gut reaction when something doesn't add up, when words and actions don't align, when there's a gap between what you feel and what they want you to believe. You felt it. Don't ignore it anymore. Next step, write it all down, not in your head. Because in your mind, the narcissist has already planted seeds of doubt to make you question everything you remember. But ink on paper doesn't lie. Write down the events, the contradictions, the feelings, anything that made you pause or question. Once it's written, you'll begin to see patterns, a sequence that was once interrupted by gaslighting, false promises, emotional outbursts, or hollow apologies. A journal is a beam of light shining into the shadows. Then seek support outside their control. You may have been isolated, you may hesitate to open up out of fear that others won't understand, or fear the narcissist will find out. But reach out to someone, a friend, a therapist, a support group, somewhere you can speak without judgment. Because when you speak, you begin to hear yourself again. And when you hear yourself, you reclaim the voice that's been silenced for so long. Then set boundaries. I know you may have tried before, but this time, don't set boundaries to change them. Set them so you can finally see them for who they truly are. Say no to a demand that feels wrong. Refuse a request that makes you uneasy. Stand firm in a limit that protects your peace. Narcissists can't stand boundaries. They'll react. They'll get angry or try to guilt trip you. But that's when the mask begins to crack, and through those cracks, the truth begins to show. But above all, forgive yourself. Forgive yourself for loving, for believing, for trying so hard. Forgive yourself for not seeing sooner. Because the truth is, when you love a narcissist, you're not just loving them. You're loving the illusion they created. And loving an illusion is not a flaw. It's the natural instinct of a heart that wants to believe in something good. And now, as you begin to see the truth, when you start noticing the cracks in the story they've built, don't look away. Look straight at it, no matter how much it hurts. Because truth may break you, but it's also the door to your freedom. And that freedom isn't just about leaving them. It's about living a life no longer controlled by a single lie. If you've made it this far, if you've stayed with me through each mask, each psychological blow, each truth twisted by the hands of a narcissist, then pause for a moment, take a deep breath, and ask yourself one simple question. How much longer do I want to live in a reality that doesn't belong to me? You've been trapped for too long in a world that isn't yours, a world where you apologize for your real emotions, where you stay silent just to keep the peace, where you carry the weight of a relationship that only you are fighting to keep. That isn't love, that is psychological imprisonment, and you were not born to live in a prison dressed up with sweet words and clever manipulation. Maybe you once thought you were weak for falling into a relationship with a narcissist, but I want you to know this. Only the strongest hearts are capable of loving so deeply that they're willing to forgive, willing to trust, willing to give everything. Weakness is not yours. Weakness is how they hide from truth. You faced it, and today you are no longer a victim. Today you are the witness to your own rising. Today you don't just see the light, you choose to walk toward it, step by step, stronger, clearer, and more at peace than ever before. When you walk away from a narcissist, you're not just leaving a person, you're breaking free from a system of manipulation that made you question your worth. You're reclaiming the voice they once silenced. You're starting to live as if this life belongs to you, without needing permission, without compromise, without fear. And if you're wondering, what's waiting for me on the other side of this door? The answer is, you, a more whole, more awakened version of yourself, no longer conditioned by fear of abandonment or the need to prove your worth. You will no longer need someone to look at you and say, you are worthy of love, because you know it. Deep in your bones, remember this, a narcissist can manipulate you with lies, but no one can ever steal your right to wake up. And when you wake up, you don't just see them for who they are, you finally see yourself for who you are. And that truth, once seen, can never be unseen. Thank you for staying until the end. Thank you for listening not just to me, but to your own inner voice, the one that's been waiting all these years for you to come back to it. If this video touched you, leave a sign, subscribe to the channel, share this with someone who's still searching for light, and remember, you are not alone. You are not crazy. You are not hopeless. You are rising,